Oh my God! Right in the video! Oh my God!
Lightning has fascinated mankind for centuries with fantastic visual displays that light up the sky.
So there's about 30 million cloud-to-ground flashes striking the continental United States each year. And that's an average of about one flash per second. And that's a lot of lightning when you think about it.
Lightning is nature's electricity. One single bolt, although normally only 1 inch in diameter, can produce 1,000,000 volts. The air near a strike is heated to over 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the surface of the sun. Lightning causes more direct deaths than any other weather phenomenon. More than 100 people are killed and 300 injured each year by strikes. A large percentage of those struck are at work.
A forked lightning bolt came down from the sky. It went off in 3 different directions. It blew a transformer off a pole 25 yards from me. One bolt went through the roof, and another bolt went directly into me.
Went out of the bus, I got out of the driver's seat, walked around the back of the bus, opened up the little doors for where the lift was, and started to let the lift down. As the lift started to unfold, I automatically just grabbed the little handrail that pops up. And within a matter of seconds, it felt like about 200,000 or 300,000 hornets got me all at the same time. It was very hot, it burned, and it stung, and it went straight up my arm. Everything lit up around me, and the weirdest thing is I never heard thunder.
Through the centuries, man has battled with many superstitions, myths, and theories about what Norse warriors believed were messages from God. In medieval Europe, it was believed that the ringing of church bells could discourage lightning. Bell ringers had the dubious task of pulling on the bell ropes throughout the storm. In a 30-year period in Germany, nearly 400 steeples were hit, and over 100 bell ringers lost their lives. Founding Father Ben Franklin is credited with the discovery that lightning is in fact an electrical charge. Today there is some controversy over Franklin's famous kite experiments, but he did fly them into storms to determine the properties of lightning. In the summer of 1752, success. Sparks jumped from a key tied to the bottom of the kite to Franklin's hand, and the electrical current from lightning. These experiments could be dangerous. One of Franklin's contemporaries in Russia was struck and killed while flying a kite into a thunderstorm.
Lightning is basically a very big spark. It's 5 to 10 miles long, as opposed to small sparks in the laboratory or small sparks that a person creates walking across the rug and touching a doorknob, but basically it's the same thing. It's a big version of the sparks we're used to.
At the Museum of Science in Boston, this concept is taken a bit further. A large Van de Graaff generator creates big sparks, so the public can actually see the electricity in the same way they would see lightning. In nature, these big sparks make for impressive visual displays, especially across the desert Southwest and in the lightning capital of the United States, Florida. Lightning normally forms when the top of the cloud becomes positively charged, while negative charges build up in the lower portion. Because unlike charges attract one another, this negative charge in turn causes a portion of the ground underneath it to become positively charged. This positive charge is most pronounced on tall objects such as buildings and trees. Typical cloud-to-ground lightning begins as electrons rush from the cloud base and then toward the ground. As the electrons approach the ground, a current of positive charge starts upward from the ground to meet it. After they meet, large numbers of electrons flow to the ground, but a much larger, more luminous return stroke surges upward to the cloud. This is the flash of light that we see. That flash is cloud-to-ground lightning, but that only makes up 20% of lightning. Most of the electrical charges are within the clouds, or from cloud to cloud.
Yes.
Equally spectacular viewing.
That was the best one yet that I got on film.
Yes.
think the frequency of lightning is staying pretty much the same year in and year out. There will be fluctuations from one year to the next, but we don't think there's a whole lot more lightning today than there was 10 years ago or 100 years ago.
Lightning is researched and photographed almost constantly. People spend hours chasing storms looking for the perfect picture or image. Lightning flashes occur so quickly, at a 30th of a second, that at normal speed this looks like one flash. But when slowed frame by frame, the true beauty of the strike is revealed. Sometimes on the video image, a weak lightning bolt can be seen miles away from the main bolt. Here, it appears the small streak may be very close to the photographer. But now, after recent studies of these images, it appears that they are an optical illusion, a trick of the camera. Video images are captivating, but still photographs of lightning can be even more breathtaking. Lightning can captivate the imagination, but it does hold very destructive capabilities. Researchers try to find ways for the rest of us to have more warning of potential strikes. Their research includes flying through the heart of thunderstorms.
Rescue workers search hopelessly through the wreckage of a huge jet near Elkton, Maryland, but they find no signs of life. All aboard, 81 persons died in the fiery crash. The jet ran into heavy weather and was awaiting landing clearance when disaster struck. The control tower heard the plane's captain call out, "We are going down in flames." Eyewitnesses described the stricken craft as a huge ball of fire as it plunged earthward. Just what happened is still a mystery.
The Pan Am jet crashed on December 8, 1963. At the time, it was the second worst air disaster in U.S. history. The official accident report determined that the probable cause of the accident was lightning-induced ignition of the fuel-air mixture in the number 1 reserve fuel tank, with resultant explosive disintegration of the left outer wing and loss of control. Since that crash, extensive lightning research has been conducted to make aviation travel safer. At Lightning Technologies in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, various parts of aircraft are tested to see how they react to a direct lightning strike. In this experiment, they show how lightning can penetrate the metal structure, causing the fuel tank to explode.
We were applying a short-duration pulse which simulates the return stroke of lightning as if it would attach to the aircraft structure. And the subsequent attachment, which we witnessed in the demonstration, has melted through the aluminum structure, and the hot plasma and gases and materials ejected by the arc attachment in that location allowed the air and fuel mixture to ignite in this case. Of course, this is a situation that we do not want to happen.
In a second area, the researchers send a lightning charge through a metal model aircraft to see how the plane reacts. They take still photographs and video so the results can be scrutinized. In this freeze frame, it is interesting to note that there is another separate spark which develops near the tail of the aircraft, a phenomenon rarely seen until these tests were conducted. Nonetheless, experts still feel air travel is safe.
And that has been demonstrated over and over again. Most of the commercial aircraft fleet will get struck typically once per year for every aircraft in the fleet. So we are seeing thousands and thousands of lightning strike aircraft every year with very few known effects to the aircraft.
Brought by the video cameras on for takeoff. We're heading to 4.
Safety issues of lightning and flight have been of particular interest to NASA.
Roger, I'd like you to recommend a good penetration heading, please.
Roger, could you try 310?
That's what I would
In the mid-'80s, researchers at Langley, Virginia, flew an F-106 jet into the most violent thunderstorms they could find, all in the name of research.
Well, right, good strike. Okay, loud flash, just to the right.
We had one strike to the nose.
Yeah, good run. Direct strike to the aircraft, no triggers. That was a nose boom strike. 10.
In the spring of '94, a team from the University of Alaska in Fairbanks flew above Midwestern thunderstorms to try and capture what happens to lightning above the clouds. This amazing footage shows a phenomenon known as sprites. Sprites are high-altitude discharges occurring up at about 50 miles above the ground, and they tend to be red as opposed to blue. They do not look like normal cloud-to-ground lightning. There are also the blue jets, which seem to come out of the clouds and go up to altitudes of 35 to 40 miles at surprising low velocity.
Both the red sprites and the blue jets I view as fascinating new electrical phenomena which may in fact play a role in the chemistry of the upper atmosphere, or certainly the effects of the upper atmosphere on other things like the Earth's magnetosphere.
NASA also took part in this project. They are still very interested in all aspects of lightning and how it affects everyday operations. The shuttle Endeavour has captured many spectacular images, but none as vivid as those of lightning striking Earth, as seen from space.
We are getting a spectacular view of all of Florida at this moment, out the window.
We have ignition and liftoff of Atlantis and the Galileo spacecraft bound for Jupiter.
Space is the next frontier for lightning research.
And the Sunnyvale flight director has just confirmed the successful deploy of the inertial upper stage and Galileo.
The Galileo spacecraft is on the way to Jupiter, and one of its many experiments is related to lightning.
We have an experiment on the probe to detect and measure the properties of lightning in Jupiter. Jupiter is the most likely candidate for lightning because the two Voyagers saw transient light spots on their TV cameras when they went by. So it's thought that those spots couldn't be anything else but lightning.
Back on Earth, lightning continues to put on a spectacular show. People get a thrill out of nature's electricity.
Oh, look at that.
But this weather phenomenon can be devastating to life and property. Researchers are battling on ways to give people enough warning that lightning is on the way. But sometimes there is no substitute for a touch of good old common sense.
When I think of high school teams, particularly football teams, sports teams, grammar school, young people playing sports in the rain, as I know they do, it frightens me to death. And if I could send any message to anybody, it would be to please don't let your children play outside when it's raining. Be frightened of lightning. I was never frightened of it myself. It has never touched me in any way. And now I am obviously very frightened and have a lot of respect for what it can do.